So, but quick about me. Again, I 32 years in the Navy. This is my dad swearing me in at the Naval Academy in 1985. And for 32 years, I was an oceanographer, and I just loved it. I then led this agency, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. And this is the nation's climate, weather, ocean agency. And we had basically 20,000 people that with a $7 billion annual budget, 18 satellites, environmental satellites, 16 ships, 9 aircraft, some of which fly through hurricanes, and a whole armada of boats and scuba divers characterizing and predicting and managing our ocean resources. So my interest in UAP was a lot like Beatrice's because I was the superintendent of the Naval Observatory, and that slide you put about how big the Milky Way galaxy is and then how big the universe is, I got to appreciate that in a big way, leading the astrophysicists at this terrific agency. And so I had thought about that deeply from my time here, read a lot on cosmology and astrophysics, and so to think that we're the only intelligent species in the universe is incredibly arrogant, and that's sort of what I took away from that job. But then I had, if you will, an experience. And this is a bit of a repeat from my SCU talk earlier this year, but I think a lot of people have not heard it. So when I was a one-star admiral working for U.S. Fleet Forces Command in Norfolk, a four-star admiral command in charge of all the ships in the Navy that are training stateside, they were running an exercise in 2014 to 2015 where Ryan Graves was operating in. He was flying his F-18 Hornet, Super Hornet, off the USS Theodore Roosevelt. My job, I was the chief meteorologist of the Navy, and so all my weather guessers, meteorologists or aerographers, were on Navy ships like the USS Theodore Roosevelt forecasting weather. Very critical safety of flight mission. And during that time, I received an email on the Navy's secret network from my boss, the operations officer at Fleet Forces Command. He was a two-star admiral. All the addies were 1- and 2-star admirals like me. I was in the support command. Others were operational, like strike group commanders, Theodore Roosevelt and others. And the topic of the email was urgent safety of flight issue. And the content of the email was fairly brief. It just said, if any of you know what these are, tell me ASAP. We're having numerous near mid-air collisions, and we're going to have to shut the exercise down if we don't stop. And attached was the Go Fast video that everyone's seen now. And and so a lot of my thought beforehand was crystallized in that I knew that was not our technology because we, the U.S. government's research and development enterprise, does not test and evaluate in training ranges for the safety issues they were causing. So I knew immediately that was not ours, it wasn't our adversaries. I was pretty read into all of our adversaries' advanced technologies, and then I knew. And so I didn't say much, but the next day, that email was wiped from my computer and everybody else who received it. And then even worse, in terms of the reaction, I would go to weekly meetings with all the people who were at ease on that email with my boss and his operations officer, and no one ever talked about it. And this was having Ryan and his fellow pilots, a major safety flight issue. He was having to develop their own mitigation measures himself. And what this whole overclassification issue, because it was obviously a SAP, I knew that, and that's why I never spoke about it at those meetings. But that overclassification, if you want to call it that, was forcing a failure in leadership that I couldn't, or my fellow admirals could not look out for Ryan and his fellow pilots. And that is a problem, and that's something we have to correct. And that's why I'm speaking out about this, and I seriously don't know why other admirals who are retired aren't either.